In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how all these awesome shots are created. But first, I know what you're thinking. It's been a little while since my channel update video, and you're probably thinking that right after I got done telling everybody how critical of a time this is for my channel, that I just went off vacationing somewhere, huh? Going out and enjoying the finer things in life instead of working hard on my channel? Don't be ridiculous. I've been out wheeling and dealing, shaking hands, metaphorically of course, and today you're in for a treat because Insta360 has graciously sponsored this video, and we're going to learn exactly how I set up the third-person camera perspective because based on the comments, many of you seem to be very interested to how it works, or maybe just confused. But good news, if I can do it, anybody can do it. So sit down, have a drink, and I hope you enjoy a little behind-the-scenes look at my content. After doing a lot of research, I did end up purchasing Insta360's 1x2 camera with my own money, and I truly do believe this is the best camera for this style of video, so it's an easy recommendation. It kind of solved all the problems I was having with my other branded 360 camera that shall not be named, and it made my workflow a lot more streamlined. Not only is the 1x2 much smaller and lighter, which is super important for this view, but it also has an amazing feature that I've never heard mentioned anywhere else. Although it's perfectly capable of recording in 5.7K, and the rest of the clips in this video are filmed in that resolution, if you bump it down to 4K, you can record single clips that are an hour and a half long. I can't even begin to tell you how much time this saves me in the editing process, only having a single clip to deal with. The battery life is also pretty ridiculous. It is always the last camera that dies on me, which is surprising because it's basically doing double the work and filming in all directions at once. If you're thinking about picking one of these up as you're watching this video, please use the link in the description, which helps support this channel. They're also running a Prime Day sale right now, which includes discounts on all their cameras, so be sure to check that out. Alright, let's get into how this all works. So first things first, you're going to need a few things besides the camera itself. You're going to need a long selfie stick. I just happen to be using Insta360's newest version of their extended selfie stick, which is made of lightweight carbon fiber and extends up to 9.8 feet, more than enough for our use case. You'll also need a way to securely mount the stick onto your car. I am a fan of using a suction cup mount that sticks onto my rear window as you see here. And if you value having the camera not fall off your car, highly recommend not cheaping out on your suction cup mount. I personally use the Delkin Fat Gecko triple mount, but with a slight modification. Most people I see online just attach the selfie stick directly onto the mount, but that leaves all the stress and the weight of the camera and stick onto one single point on the mount and causes the camera to become drunk and wobbly. Kind of like me sometimes, and you don't want that. So what I do is pretend like I'm injured and that I remove the front section of the Gecko mount and attach a small rig clamp on the end and then use the clamp to spread the weight out from that single point. Triangle is the strongest shape, and the bigger you can make this thing, the more stable it'll be. Doing this spreads the load out and makes the camera feel much more sturdy and should help a lot with the wobbly. Won't completely get rid of it, but really helps. Then just get things as centered as you can, extend that selfie stick out, and bam, Bob's your uncle. You gotta be a bit careful with how far you extend this thing out though. It goes way farther than I would recommend. I'd probably recommend looking up the overhang laws for your area that you live. Here in California, the laws are you can have overhang 3 feet towards the front and 4 feet for the rear. I usually extend mine to like 3.5 feet towards the back, which I think is plenty and looks pretty good. This can be achieved by only extending the very middle section of the selfie stick that I'm using. Pretty awesome stuff though, right? With these kind of views, you can see exactly how close autopilot is getting to things while it's trying to squeeze into a spot. Now that you know how the hardware setup is done, let's turn our attention to the software side. Insta360 Studio is a software I use for reframing and to extract the clips from the 360 videos, and it allows you to do some pretty cool stuff. You even have control over things like how the video is stitched together, and can do things like add keyframes to animate your shots in really creative ways, but for this particular view, we're just going to stick to reframing and tracking. Tracking is pretty sweet in this software. It allows you to track an object and then center the object in the video playback. It does a really great job, and I think I'm going to use this, like what you're seeing right now, in future videos when I'm pointing out an individual car. You can see during playback, it gives you a really locked-on, stabilized view, which would be extremely useful for beta drives when I'm pointing out traffic around me. What I mostly use the tracking for, though, is to track the mount on the back of the car, which in combination with the flow state stabilization option checked, stabilizes the view to the back of the car really well. After tracking is completed, you just click the yellow export button on the bottom right, and you have an awesome reframed 360 video that's basically ready to go. But not quite there yet for me, mostly because our triple mount takes up so much space and you can clearly see it in the video. So let's go ahead and fix that. And now is when things get exciting because we are heading into video editing software. Dun dun dun, spooky I know, but don't worry, everything I'm going to show you here is super basic. Like I said, if I can do this, you can do it too. And it's also completely free using DaVinci Resolve Edit. So feel free to download it and follow along if you'd like. With our clip selected on the edit timeline, we're going to head over to the color page by clicking this button on the bottom and then pressing Alt or Option and S at the same time, which will add a node that we can mess around with. Now inside this new node, click on the Window section and add a circle mask. We now have to track the area we want to mask, and luckily Resolve makes this super easy. Go ahead and adjust your mask around the suction cups and then go next door to the Tracker tab. Then we'll start tracking. I typically uncheck all of these besides pan because I don't need the mask to zoom or rotate or anything like that. And then once tracking is complete, we'll head over to the Blur tab. Radius affects the amount of blur, and the HV ratio is the direction of the blur. I found that making the blur nearly all the way horizontal seems to look the best. Then you just have to do some minor adjustments on the size of the mask itself and the blur and get it to just the way you like it. This is a pretty small step, but it adds a lot to the video in my opinion. It makes the mount hardly noticeable and really adds to the experience. I know this was more like a video editing speedrun here, but if you're interested in this kind of stuff and more detailed editing videos, I'm going to be putting some up on my Patreon page soon. Insta360 also sent me their new 1RS 4K Boost Edition camera, which was used for all the interior shots in this video. It has a half-inch, 48 megapixel image sensor, which is pretty insane on such a small, rugged action camera, and has an active HDR mode, which does an absolutely amazing job bringing out the darker details of the interior, even when it's really bright outside, which is definitely something my current setup has some trouble with. It also has flow state stabilization built directly into the camera, which adds the gimbal-like stabilization to your shots without needing any extra software. You can also do things like swap out the lenses because this camera is completely modular. They offer some really cool ones, like one with a 1-inch sensor, or you can get a little crazy and turn it into a 360 camera. Very versatile indeed. Deals on the 1RS are also available for Prime Day. Anyways, I think it's a really cool camera ecosystem that seems to align a lot with the style of shots I try to get on this channel. So if you're interested in purchasing one, please don't forget to use the link in the description and help support the channel. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you learned a thing or two in this video, and as always, please leave some feedback. Until next time.